working on an R32 GTR. That's right, also known as Godzilla. So, fabled in Japan and kind of the wet dream for most Americans because we obviously did not get them in the 90s. But this here is a 1989 Nissan R32 Skyline GTR. It comes with the RB26 in the front and of course the amazing all-wheel drive system from Nissan that has all-wheel drive. So we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff to it, and this workload is going to be consisting of some ECU work. We're going to be doing a trigger system install and obviously some R35 coils because, you know, we got to do some ignition coil upgrades and all that stuff here too. But we're basically just going to bring this 80s-ish, 90s car into the modern era. It's obviously 2022 and technology's changed quite a bit over the years. And this car has a bunch of work done to it. But it just needs like a breath of freshness to run a little bit better and for the customer to enjoy it. So yeah, it's gonna be a fantastic project. So let's get started. So we're ditching the AEM Series 2. I'm personally not a huge fan of these ECUs, not because they're bad, just because they're like outdated and people still use them. But they're outdated by like 3 or 4 generations of ECUs. So if this was a talk about fighter jets, it'd be like a P-51 versus a F-35, which is our F-35 in this case is a Haltech Elite 2500. So we're switching to a plug and play 2500, and then we're also switching to a twin cam and crank trigger kit. So basically we're ditching the factory Nissan CAS. So to do the trigger kit, obviously you need to uninstall pretty much everything off the front cover. So you start by removing the radiator, which I already did, and removing the cam covers. But Nissan uses just one sensor on the factory RB26 like engines, on the factory ECU and all that, for engine position. So everything that's needed to basically fire the injectors and the ignition coils is ran off of one sensor on the exhaust wheel. So we've taken that off, and basically we're just replacing it with 3 different sensors, 1 on the crankshaft and then 2 on that same camshaft. And since this is a timing belt, one of the things with timing belts is they stretch over time and they have deflection. Timing chains don't typically have that much stretching. So the actual engine timing does change at higher speed RPMs because the belt is stretching. So the rotation of the camshafts are actually different than where the crankshaft is. That's why we're using the 2 sensors, so we can kind of tune around that happening. Ow! Oh my God, okay. I got a gripe with you guys. The people that build cars and have zip ties everywhere and don't cut them flush and just leaves a super sharp like plastic edge, stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
Literally go somewhere else. Specifically someplace dark where you can't touch cars anymore. I'm peeved. Look at this. Look at that. Ouch. Ouch. Bye. Attempt to loosen this up a little bit. So we're not actually like burning anything, but we're just heating up the metal around the crankshaft, like the crankshaft that meets the timing surface and the crank pulley. So this is one of those ATI dampers. They're super fucking sick. So you don't want to fuck them up. So I'm just trying to heat up the surface a little bit, loosen everything up, so that way we don't damage the damper at all. boring process. I'll probably be here for a while.
2 hours later.
Taking the intercooler off because the crank damper is kind of a pain in the assholes to take off. Like these pain in my assholes. It's like the borax clip.
It's barely my assholes.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take the whole front clip off so I can fit a slide hammer and the actual ATI tool to remove the damper. Most of the time I can just get lucky and not need that, but not in this case. So today's a new day. We got our ATI crank pulley removal tool installed here on the car. Turns out you should probably actually have the removal and installation tool for an ATI crank pulley because they are a pain in the ass to get off. Ugh. And normal crank pulleys, like tools, don't have the correct pull pattern. So I tried using a slide hammer on it, and that doesn't really work that well. So how'd that work for you, Cole? Didn't really work so well. Insert clip here. Just a 2-second one. Me and Grayson just got done listening to "How Do I Live" from the blockbuster film Con Air. Get all up in them guts. Oh. We got our 27mm wrench. It's slowly coming off. Hey, boo-boo. Every time I think it's about to come off, it's just like, nope. Oh, it's getting loose.
I believe that's called edging.
I'm edging. Got it! Look at him. There's nothing gay about that hair. Anyways, so we are, you know, we'll probably use this tool later, but we got our ATI pulley off. So basically, I don't know if you guys know much about ATI pulleys, but for those in the audience that don't know much about them, they're basically just a specially designed fluid dampener for like high-end like motorsports applications. I personally am not a fan of lightweight crank pulleys for a lot of reasons. A lot of pulleys are designed to dampen noise. So there's vibration in the engine, and that noise is transferred directly to the closest thing that's touching. Well, the closest thing that the crank is touching in the engine is literally your bearings. And you're gonna hurt the internet's feelings. Well, yeah. Well, this is gonna be a little bit of tough love with Papa Cole here. Lightweight crank pulleys don't dampen noise. One may say that they actually increase the noise vibration, just like how, you know, a cymbal on a drum set, the larger it gets, the louder it is. So if you increase the surface area without decreasing the noise dampening, you're therefore destroying crank bearings. So that's something you guys can debate in the comments. You will never get me to use a lightweight crank pulley. I never will. You'll never get this. Buy one of these, or buy a fluid damper, or just use your factory one. Oh, this thing is a Nitto oil pump. That means when I'm tuning the thing, you can rev it out a little bit higher. That's one of the main reasons why you do a trigger conversion on these cars in the first place is the CAS. It's just, I don't know what I think the factory Nissan ECU is very complex and it reads the signals a lot easier than aftermarket computers do, whereas like all aftermarket computers have just a broad range of triggers that they can read from. So after about 7,300 RPM, the factory CAS on like an aftermarket ECU just like doesn't really want to read correctly, so you get trigger sync errors. But yeah, anyways, we got the last bit of the timing cover off. It's just this little pot metal type thing. Quite a bit of rubber. So before we get too far into any more of the teardown or installation of the new parts, I'm gonna set the car into top dead center. What top dead center is basically the car's actual firing order, right? So in this case, it's a 6-cylinder engine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's all the pistons moving up and down in this specific firing order. Well, top dead center is basically the part where the complete firing order is, it starts. It's the top dead center of the, well, I would say either power stroke. Yeah, so the power stroke, I think. I might be overcomplicating explaining this. I'm not the best at explaining or teaching things. But other than the fact that all I know is that we need to go into top dead center so it's easier to put the car back into time when you put the timing belt back on all the components. So basically you're just gonna line up all the hash marks onto the timing components. So on the intake gear and the exhaust gear, you have these, in this case, the last person that installed this painted these white marks on it, but they have these dots here. And then on the back side of the timing gear, or the cam gear, is a little hash mark. So we're just gonna line up all those marks around, and then also on the crank pulley itself, or the crank timing gear itself, there's a dot here, and that dot goes actually all the way up here. So right now, we're not at top dead center on cylinder 1, we're on top dead center on a different piston. So basically we just need to rotate the engine all the way around until every single mark hits top dead center, and then we'll start back from there. As soon as it gets out of this upper alignment pin, it's a little bit easier. Honestly, a slide hammer might be able to get this off a little bit better, but the main thing is just not damaging the oil pump or the crankshaft itself. The gear we're replacing, so yeah, I'm gonna grab the slide hammer real quick. There we go. This goes in the bin. So right now, we're cutting shit because we just have to as part of the install. This whole lip right here needs to be cut off for our new timing gear because the reluctor wheel would get in the way of it. Okay, so we jumped around a little bit there at the end, but not an issue because we're not using that gear anyways. So as long as it doesn't mess up anything on the actual crank itself, like I said earlier, doesn't really matter. So now that we're here, we got the chunk off. I'll show you the thickness of it. I mean, barely 1/8 of an inch. So it's just a little bit to take off. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go over to Eric's area, just grab a straight edge or some, like, you know, really nice like ruler or something that actually has like a flat edge on it. And we're just gonna make sure everything's flat. And then I'm gonna hit that with a sander and just get rid of all the burrs. So we're gonna go grab that straight edge, flatten everything out, and then we can start the install.
26 Hemi stroke to a 472 billboard fuel injector.
So I'm gonna use my flathead screwdriver as our straight edge just because it's a nice forged screwdriver, not a cast one, but basically just grab the flat edge, make sure it doesn't intersect with anything, and then we'll go on the top. So now we can take the factory crank sprocket off again and do the install on the new one. All right, so I think that's gonna wrap up the work for today and for this episode especially. We got pretty far. Basically, to recap everything that we've done, we got the whole timing components off the car, and then we started installing the new components. We're using all Platinum Racing products for all the timing components and everything like that. And then we're using the Haltech Elite 2500 for the ECU tuning. So in the next episode, we're gonna just be wrapping stuff up. So We'll probably put the timing belt on right away in the next episode. We'll finish up a little bit of wiring and then just start doing system checks on the Haltech to make sure everything's reading correctly. And then hopefully we'll get the car fired up. We'll get it, you know, start polishing up the idle, everything like that, drivability. And then we go over to the dyno and we start making power and see exactly what this car is capable of doing on E85. All right, guys, so that's gonna be it for this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell notification to stay up to date on all the things that we do on our YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go to our Facebook page and like that as well to stay up to date on all of our, you know, fun stuff, pictures-wise, tuning dates, anything business related. You can contact us there too. Anyways, my name is Cole Peterson. I'll see you guys in the next one.